Charles Edward Anderson Berry was an American singer, guitarist, and songwriter who pioneered rock and roll. Nicknamed the father of rock and roll, he refined and developed rhythm and blues into the major elements that made rock and roll distinctive with songs such as Maybelline, Roll Over Beethoven, Rock and Roll Music, and Johnny B. Good. Writing lyrics that focused on teen life and consumerism and developing a music style that included guitar solos and showmanship, Berry was a major influence on subsequent rock music. Berry was awarded a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and a Merit Award by American Music Awards. He was among the first musicians to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He is included in several of Rolling Stone magazine's greatest of all-time lists. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll includes 3 of Berry's. Johnny B. Good is the only rock and roll song included on the Voyager Golden record. Net worth. One of Berry's attorneys estimated that his estate was worth $50 million, including $17 million in music rights. Berry's music publishing accounted for $13 million of the estate's value. The Berry estate owned roughly half of his songwriting credits. He had owned a racially integrated nightclub, Berry's Club Bandstand, and invested in real estate. In the late 1980s, he bought the Southern Air, a restaurant in Missouri. Early life. Born in St. Louis, Berry was the youngest child. He grew up in the North St. Louis neighborhood known as the Ville, an area where many middle-class people lived. His father, Henry William Berry, was a contractor and deacon of a nearby Baptist church. His mother, Martha Bell, was a school principal. He gave his first public performance in 1941 while still a student at Sumner High School. Personal life. In 1948, Berry married Themetta Suggs. Berry supported his family by taking various jobs working as a factory worker, janitor, and working with local bands. Afterwards, he trained as a beautician at the Poro College of Cosmetology. Berry had 4 children: Ingrid Berry, Charles Berry Jr., Melody X's Berry, and Aloha Berry. Death. On March 18, 2017, Berry was found unresponsive at his home. Emergency workers called to the scene were unable to revive him, and he was pronounced dead by his personal physician. Berry's funeral was held on April 9, 2017, at the pageant in Berry's hometown of St. Louis. Berry is interred in a mausoleum in Bellerive Gardens Cemetery in St. Louis. Berry got in trouble several times with the law despite his success and influence. He was first arrested for armed robbery after robbing 3 shops in Kansas City, Missouri, and then stealing a car at gunpoint with some friends. He was released after 3 years from the reformatory on his 21st birthday. In 1959, he was arrested after allegations that he had had sexual intercourse with a 14-year-old waitress, Janice Escalante. He served 1.5 years in prison after several appeals. Berry pleaded guilty to evading nearly $110,000 in federal income tax owed on his 1973 earnings, for which he was mostly paid in cash. He was sentenced to 4 months in prison and 1,000 hours of community service performing benefit concerts. In 2000, Berry faced legal issues when he was sued by his former pianist Johnny Johnson, who claimed that he had co-written over 50 songs that credit Berry alone. The case was dismissed when the judge ruled that too much time had passed since the songs were written. In 1987, Berry was charged with assaulting a woman at New York's Gramercy Park Hotel. He pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of harassment and paid a $250 fine. In 1990, he was sued by several women who claimed that he had installed a video camera in the bathroom of his restaurant. Berry opted for a class action settlement. Reportedly, a police raid on his house found intimate videotapes of women. Also found in the raid were 62 grams of marijuana. Felony drug and child abuse charges were filed. The child abuse charges were eventually dropped, and Berry agreed to plead guilty to misdemeanor possession of marijuana. He was given a 6-month suspended jail sentence, placed on 2 years unsupervised probation, and was ordered to donate $5,000 to a local hospital. Later, videos Berry recorded of himself urinating on a woman and another of her defecating on him would surface. Career. In 1955, Berry recorded Maybelline. It sold over 1 million copies, reaching #1 on Billboard and Magazine's Rhythm and Blues chart. Roll Over Beethoven reached number 29 on the Billboard's Top 100 chart in 1956. His other hits included School Days, Rock and Roll Music, Sweet Little 16, and Johnny B. Good You Can't Catch Me, Go, Johnny, Go, Little Queenie. By the end of the 1950s, Berry was a high-profile established star with several hit records and film appearances and a lucrative touring career. He had continued recording and performing during his trials, but his output had slowed as his popularity declined. His final single released before he was imprisoned was Come On. When Berry was released from prison in 1963, his return to recording and performing was made easier because British invasion bands, notably the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, had sustained interest in his music by releasing cover versions of his songs, and other bands had reworked some of them. In 1964 and 1965, Berry released 8 singles, including 3 that were commercially successful, reaching the top 20 of the Billboard between 1966 and 1969. Berry released 5 albums for Mercury Records, including his second live album, Live at Fillmore Auditorium. Although this period was not a successful one for studio work, Berry was still a top concert draw. In May 1964, he had made a successful tour of the UK, but when he returned his behavior was erratic and moody, and his touring style of using unrehearsed local backing bands and a strict non-negotiable contract was earning him a reputation as a difficult and unexciting performer. Berry returned to chess in 1970. He produced albums Back Home, Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Chucky Berry, The London Chuck Berry Sessions and Rocket, singles, My Ding-a-Ling, and an LP from St. Louis to Frisco. In the 1970s, Berry toured on the strength of his earlier successes. He was on the road for many years, carrying only his Gibson guitar, confident that he could hire a band that already knew his music no matter where he went. His live performances became increasingly erratic, working with terrible backup bands and turning in sloppy, out-of-tune performances which tarnished his reputation. In March 1972, he filmed Chuck Berry in concert. He appeared at the concert for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1995 and performed at the White House in 1979. Berry continued to play 70 to 100 one-nighters per year, still traveling solo and requiring a local band to back him at each stop. In 1986, he made a documentary film, Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, of a celebration concert for Berry's 60th birthday. In 1982, Berry performed a television special at the Roxy with Tina Turner. In 2008, Berry toured Europe. During a concert in Chicago, Berry, suffering from exhaustion, passed out and had to be helped off stage. His final album, entitled Chuck, was released in 2017. It includes his children, Charles Berry Jr. and Ingrid, on guitar and harmonica, and dedicated to his wife Toddy. May he rest in peace. Thank you for watching. For more content like this, make sure to subscribe and click on the bell notification.